Hey guys, I've been getting some questions lately about codependency. um, the way I see codependency is it's pretty much it's like people who are relying on each other to make each other feel okay. One example would be one person doesn't love themselves. So the other person's always having to be like, oh, but you're lovable, but you're beautiful, but you're this, but you're that, but you're wonderful. And it's like, I just said that. But like, constantly having to like make that person feel better about themselves. Another example would be being really needy, like one of them being really needy also in another way. Like, why aren't you calling me like you used to? You used to give me 10 texts. Now I only get 3 texts a day. Or, it's just it's really, one way of putting codependency is it's a way that you're giving your power away. You're letting somebody else dictate whether you are happy or not. And the way to become non-codependent, the way to eliminate codependency would be to start making decisions for yourself and to decide to be happy despite what the other person's doing. So one way to do that is to become more self-aware. To become more self-aware, you need to be doing things like some kind of like Byron Katie. Byron Katie is a really, really, really great thing you could do to help become more self-aware. We have so much of a momentum built up through the years, a whole lifetime worth of ego built up that's holding on for dear life in these relationships. And it's like the perfect opportunity to allow yourself to be triggered. By triggered, it means that you're just like, well, this pisses me off because I've had alcoholism in my family. Well, this makes me mad because I've always wanted to have a kid, and all this kind of stuff, like the overreactions, I guess. It's when you overreact to something, you get very, very upset. That's being triggered. Anyway, you want to get to a place where you know how to hold your own energy and you put yourself and your vibration as an absolute priority. Somebody could be screaming and yelling at you and giving you a piece of their mind, and you don't take it personally because you're just like, well, I know that you're probably projecting. Well, almost 100% of the time somebody's projecting. When somebody's really, really upset with you, they're usually saying things to you that they feel about themselves. So think about that. The next time you get in a fight with somebody, or the next time they get really, really upset with you, just think about what they're saying to themselves. Think about what they're saying to you. Like, pull away from the situation. You don't do this right in front of them. Go to the bathroom and be like, they said this, and this, and the other thing. And then you can be like, how is this their responsibility, not mine? And that'll really give you some clarity on the situation. But so becoming more self-aware is the key to becoming non-codependent. So Byron Katie's work is an excellent thing that frees you, because you don't have to rehash all the garbage from the past in such a way that you're like confessing it and then hashing through it and why did you feel that way. And you don't have to go through any of that nonsense. It's just really super simple. You do it by yourself in the privacy of your own home at your, with a pad of paper with a spiral bound at the top, and you just kind of work it out, and it actually reprograms your brain subconsciously to let go of stressful thoughts about anything, about your partner, about life, about work, it doesn't even matter. And she calls it a self-inquiry process. So I definitely highly recommend that tool. It is the number one tool I would recommend for self-awareness. And self-awareness makes you a good partner. You can hold your own, it's like you guys can calmly come together without reacting so much and being, just allowing your ego to just bah on somebody. You can just kind of think about how things are really affecting you and come like drop down into your heart and take your ego out of it and apologize, or just say, oh, I think I know what this is triggering in me. But being able to kind of laugh at yourself or see that in yourself and not take it so seriously, not make it like this life or death matter, but also be able to soothe yourself. We start learning how to self-soothe at like 5 years old, I think. But as a society, it's like we're just out there blaming as a, a normal, regular, everyday basis, like it's a normal thing or like it's the thing to do. And it really isn't, we don't have to live like that. We don't have to be like that. We can actually decide to be happy despite any circumstances we're in because we want to. And the ego wants to be miserable. The ego wants to fight tooth and nail to be miserable, believe it or not. And the ego will act like it's actually working for you and it works against you. So don't be tricked by the ego. I'll give an example. So one gal last night had some news to share with her masculine, and he kind of freaked out and was really selfish about it and said some really mean, nasty things to her, some really hurtful things. And so what did she do? She lashed out too. These guys are madly in love with each other. And she lashed out too and said, well, you're just a little boy, and let's turn our, one of them was saying something about let's turn our dislike into hatred and this kind of stuff. So it's just like you don't want to say anything that you'll regret. You don't want to say anything that's also not true. You don't want to say I'm never going to speak to you again if you darn well know the next day when they say they're sorry, you're going to talk to them. Because that's just going to undermine their trust in you. It's not really going to help anything. It's just going to make them feel like anything that you say, you're just saying it out of a reaction anyway. Are you really telling me the truth? It's really just the ability to pull back away from the situation and look at it in a mature way that you can come together with something valuable. Like treat any interaction with this person that you love as like, how can I build our rapport? How can I build us being a team? How can I create healing in this situation? How can I make things better? How can I stay more neutral? How can I be more unconditionally loving? What do I need to do? What do I need to do? Not them. What do I need to do to help us to drop into our hearts? Whether it's a hug or kiss or just laughter or tickles or just being able to kind of break the ice in a way, and being able to laugh at ourselves is really key. So yeah, just being able to keep your vibration high despite what other people do is pretty much how you stay from being codependent and not needing them for anything. Stand in your own power and know that you can darn well make your own dinner. If they're refusing to make dinner that night, go make your own damn dinner. You don't need to have them make you dinner, or like if you're insisting that they text you 10 times and they've only texted you 3 times, be like, they were only able to do it 3 times today. Why not be accepting of it? Why read into it? It's also like gives your power away because it's like your little puppet, right? You're just this little puppet, and whatever they do, you're reacting to it. And it's so easy to predict. I mean, they just get you down. They're just like so easy to know exactly what she or he's going to do, because when I do this, they do that. It's like so predictable because it's all the ego. But try to learn to be more introspective than that. Don't be so boring. Don't be so easy to read. Just like pull back away from the situation and just be, I've been there before, try to understand and validate them. I've been there before. Look at it this way. We've all been angry. We've all been embarrassed. We've all been ashamed. We've all been jealous. We've all been all of the emotions. All human beings are capable of all emotions. So if you can try to see from their perspective, if you can try to put yourself in their shoes, then all you got to do is validate them. There's a really good video that I made a little while back called like how to be an effective listener. I would definitely look up that video and watch that video because it'll save your butt sometime. Because all people really want is to be understood. That's it. And so if you can help them be understood, and you can validate them, and you can try to work together as a team, you guys aren't going to be saying awful things to each other that you really regret later. And if this person isn't reasonable enough to calm themselves down, if they're always saying hurtful things, they're always needing you needing you to make them feel better about themselves, or if it's just constant work and they're working against you all the time, they could be a karmic and they may not love you. I mean, they may be saying that they do, but they may just be wanting money or some other ulterior motive, So they're working really hard against you because they really don't give a crap about you. They just want to be in a big fight, and they want to see how quickly they can win, and that you'll suck up to them and give them whatever it is they want. So don't get into a situation like that too, where you're just like having to suck up to somebody all the time. You really just, you want to be in a partnership where both of you feel empowered and both of you appreciate each other, and both of you are kind of working at it in the sense that there's always going to be stuff to work through. There's always problems in the world and in your life, but you want somebody that you can just come to the table with and just kind of share your hearts about it and work together to compromise or do whatever you got to do to get over the hump together. Even if it's about someone's jealousy issue or their anger issue. If you can just if somebody's say you're defensive because you already felt like you should have had dinner made, right? And when they got home and you were lazy and you didn't do it, and they get home and they're all butthurt about it, right? That's a good example. You can then, instead of reacting from that place of guilt, you can just be like, hey, I'm so sorry I didn't make dinner or whatever, and then just be like, I don't know where I was going with this. Where was I going with this? It's sometimes we overreact because we feel guilty, and it's don't do that. Just be just apologize or laugh at yourself and be, oh man, I'm so lazy today. I didn't even think of doing that. And then be able to do that. Basically be okay, or be okay no matter if they made you dinner or not. Be gracious. Be I guess they had a hard day, or I had that, don't be oh my God, they're gonna leave me. Don't be jumping to conclusions. Be able to calm yourself down and self-soothe, and you don't have to give them a hard time. Oh, you didn't make me dinner. I can't believe you didn't make me dinner. It can just be oh, look at you. You must have had quite the day, or do something like that, instead of needing them to always somehow make you feel better. I'm trying to think of the one thing the ego likes to do too is it likes to just get in a ping pong match, go back and forth as to who can be more right. And you can go back and forth like that for hours sometimes. But if you can just kind of stop and remove yourself from the situation and go take a breath, when you stop what you're saying, then that person is actually left to reflect instead of deflect on you. A lot of times they're not even hearing you at all because they're so focused on winning, or they're so focused on getting on top of the situation, so they don't even hear you. But if you actually just walk away and just be I love you, but I gotta remove myself for just a moment, I will be back, and I'll be back with love. Handle it like that. I love you, gonna be back soon, but not like I am right now because I'm very upset. So if you can do that, all of a sudden it's they're left to sit there and just kind of think back to everything you just said and think back to everything they just said, and they will calm down, or they will hopefully, and they will be able to really, especially if you say, I love you, I'm going, rather than just leaving. Just leaving is going to really trigger people. Don't do that. Make sure that you assure the person that you care about them and that you're not leaving them. You are just leaving for a moment to clear your head, that you still really care about them. But it helps everybody to kind of hear and mull over whatever you guys just went through. And it can help you guys when you come back into the situation. Hopefully both of you, maybe you guys can even make an agreement. Look, when we start getting in a fight, let's both step away from it. Let's drop into our hearts, and let's come back to the table with honesty and with our hearts connected to our heads. That could be something that you guys could do too. Anyway, Don't make other people responsible for your happiness, period, end of story. Nothing that they do, nothing that they say should have anything to do with whether you are smiling and happy and free or not. It's completely your responsibility how you look at things. It's completely your perspective. If you decide to get hurt by it, that's you hurting yourself. That's not the other person. It's nobody else's responsibility to make you happy. I mean, are you going to punish them for being with you in a relationship? You know, that's kind of what you're doing when you're making them responsible. And it's like, who bought into that? Really? Like, I'm here now to reassure you about everything in your life and make you like feel better about yourself? No, that's your job. It's your job to love you. It's my job to love me. Together we can certainly heal, you know, work to heal one another and do that for each other, but to just go into a situation and just sit there high up on your horse and making all these demands of the other person, that's just mean. You know, that's not cool. Anyway, I hope some of that helped. I hope that helps put things into perspective a little bit, but the gist is that you're not going to get out of it unless you start doing some work on yourself. You got to do introspection. You've got to do some self-awareness exercises. You guys, to be able to know that it's your own responsibility whether you're happy or not in any given moment. It's never anybody else's. Yeah, and it's quit giving your power away to the other person too, because it's like if you have the power to make yourself happy no matter what's going on, it really, if things do get heated, it's so much better if you can calm yourself down. It's easier for them to come back down also and to calm down also. If both of you stay, then you can nothing ever happens. You guys just stay angry at each other, stomping around and being silly. So if you guys can just, if one of you at least comes down to just drops in, and just even if you're quiet and you don't really say anything, you're just kind of being the space for that, then it can really allow for miraculous things to happen. And certainly if somebody apologizes to you, that's a really hard thing to do, you guys. Don't be mean if they apologize to you. Take it and drop in your heart. Speak from your heart. Don't sit there and go, oh, well, you should be sorry and you should pay and any of that nonsense. Anyway, if you guys want to go further into any of this, then you can definitely schedule a session with me. I'd be happy to explore this more with you. Yeah. So have yourselves a wonderful night or day, wherever you are. And we'll talk to you next time I make one of these. Bye.